Right, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. So would you mind saying your name and a little bit about your business background?
Okay, my name is Leslie Householder. My business background comes from just the School of Hard Knocks.
Okay.
I was a math teacher.
Okay.
That was my profession, that was my degree. But my family, as we started bringing kids to the world, we found ourselves really struggling to stay in front of the expenses of raising a family. And it broke my heart because I just wanted to be a mom. You know, I quit my job so that I could be a mom, but after a year of it not working out, I had to go back to work and it just killed me.
Mm-hmm.
But we were looking for a way. We had friends who had income that was bigger than your average job, and they had the kind of life and the freedom to build that family without restrictions. You know, I think we all want to become all that we can be, but when funds are tight, it really puts a stranglehold on those opportunities. And,
Totally,
and we
yeah.
didn't want our kids to grow up with that. And so that's where my business background started, was with nothing.
That's
truly.
cool. So academically, you started with being a teacher for math, and then you moved into, you know, I guess you could say everything you learned about business was self-taught, or I guess taught by, you know, with like mentors and that kind of thing after the fact. That's really cool. So what was your main pivot, or what did you kind of move into after that once you realized you wanted, you know, you guys needed something more? What were your next steps?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we had started to do our own side hustle, this or that, you know, whatever we could think of. We were doing janitorial work, we were doing windows, we were, you know, painting, we were anything we could to bring in some extra money. But when we realized that there are some principles that govern success in any endeavor, we realized that we could apply those principles to anything and succeed, so why not do something we enjoy instead? And, you know, some people just automatically go to what they enjoy. We were just looking for what made money.
Right.
You know, and so the principles we discovered are universal, and they apply to anything, and they work even better if you're doing something that is in alignment with your gifts, your talents, your interests. And so our pivot was towards teaching the principles. You know, we saw some breakthroughs come as we learned that there are laws that govern success, that are invisible, like gravity is invisible. But once you learn them and start to live with that awareness of them, things go better. You know, doors open. I think there's unseen help that shows up, and it doesn't have to be random. You can live in such a way and think in such a way that those things become predictable.
Totally.
And so it turned into a business now that we do in teaching these principles.
Cool. In your opinion, what percentage of success do you think is just mindset, like positivity, mindset, that kind of thing?
It is really the element that has to be there for it to be long-lasting and I don't know, I think a lot of times entrepreneurs they rely on those miracles, those breakthroughs, those lucky breaks. They rely on those to happen because, you know, percentage-wise across the board, how many businesses succeed?
Right.
You know, it takes an extra something to stand out and be, overcome the odds and the obstacles that come, because they come. And so I think mindset is not just critical, but it is the foundation. It's foundational. And I can say this because we were learning from mentors in business in the beginning, and I remember one of our teachers was telling us, look, if you just take your business and you get it in front of so many people, you know, we were talking about marketing, if you get it in front of this many people, then you're going to make this kind of money, this figure, because nobody's ever done what I'm telling you and not achieved that kind of income level. And so what I did, and the numbers he gave us was like, you do this thing for 150 prospects, and you'll make this money, this much money over here, because nobody ever has done that without making that much money.
Okay.
Well, we were the first to prove them wrong. And so what I had done was I took a paper and I put 150 squares on the paper, because I knew if we could just get in front of that many people, and I'll put a smiley face sticker in each box as we make this contact with each of these people, then by the end of filling out that paper, we'll be making this much money.
Right.
And I was excited. And so we got to the end of that paper, filled it all out, and we were no further than we were when we started. And it took me years to realize that I achieved my goal. What was my goal?
To fill out the piece of paper.
To fill out the paper. And so the people that we were connecting with are people who were kind enough to let us talk to them about what we had to offer. While other people were like, they could see what that would translate to, what the income would translate to, what is their lifestyle that they're trying to build, what are the problems that they're trying to solve, what is the end that they intend, really. It's not stickers on a paper, and yet that's where my focus was. So the same activity with a different mindset had totally a different result.
Interesting. I love that. That's such a good perspective. So ultimately, when you made this pivot from, teacher, you guys started getting into this positivity, this mindset switch thing, and started teaching that. What did that do to your income?
Well, when we had been to, how many times have you heard think positive, dream big?
Right.
Okay, so it's so cliche anymore. We heard that. I counted up, we went to probably 100 different trainings over 7 years, trying to figure out this mindset thing and how to make it show up in have an effect on our results, because we knew instinctively there was something to this, but we just couldn't quite make it work, and I didn't know what was wrong. So it was finally when a gentleman came and taught us about these laws of success that I'm going to be sharing in the lecture series that are also on my website, rarefaith.org.
Okay, I'll have the link in the description of the YouTube video. Yeah,
and there's a lot of free stuff there. People can learn all about it at rarefaith.org. But as we understood the principles, it's like it wasn't hype anymore. It wasn't just motivation. It was, look, here are the laws that govern success. If you think this way, then you can expect these results.
Okay.
Period. There's no wondering anymore. It's like, if I can just master my mindset, then things are going to continue to work for us. And it doesn't mean that everything goes well. It means you know how to think when things don't go well.
Interesting.
You know how to respond when things go opposite of what you're intending.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like so many people focus on like, if I think positively, everything will be good, but that's not it. If you think positively, you have the right mindset. That means when things are bad, you continue to perform at a high level so that you can achieve those.
The point is to make sure that you're not the limiting factor in what's possible.
Right.
And so often it was my mindset that was limiting what was possible.
Okay.
And so, I think I don't teach and live by these principles so much as to make things happen, although it does make things happen. I do it so that I'm not the limiting factor in what can happen.
I love that. So I understand you wrote a book about this. Tell us a little bit about your book and the types of people that read your book.
Yeah. So my main book is called The Jackrabbit Factor.
Okay.
The Jackrabbit Factor is the book I wrote after I learned these principles. We had this big breakthrough. I was so fired up about sharing what we had learned because it made such a big difference. And I think if it had come too easily for me, I wouldn't have bothered. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Now life is better. But now I have this drive to help other people experience this. But I knew there were thousands of books on the market that teach these principles. I'm like, how can I do this so that it's different? Because it needs to be in a person's heart. It has to change them on this deep level for it to stick.
Right.
And so the Jackrabbit Factor is all the notes that I gathered over those 7 years, all those nuggets that I picked up on that made, that brought us to that place, and I wove it into a story. It's like a parable type of a story or an analogy, allegory, whatever. And my goal for the story is for a person to sit down and read a story, and in a span of 2-3 hours, whatever it takes, for it to go from their head to their heart. I want it to be a transformative experience for them so that they come away seeing life differently. And as you see life differently, you start to think and respond differently to those challenges, and then you start experiencing the shift, because you literally have an effect on the world around you by the thoughts you choose. They go out like a radio broadcast, and it has an effect. And this is, we've created a way to help people understand the connection between their thoughts and what shows up. It's this mindset mastery. But with the Jackrabbit Factor, we've had high school students read it, we've had little kids read it, we've had retirees read it who are trying to figure out how they're going to survive on their retirement. We have students read it, we've had moms, CEOs, Inc. 500 company CEOs have read the book and said, this is how I got to where I am. It's so simple, it's based in principles that it relates to so many people across the board, and it really is speaking to someone who has a dream and wants to know why they can achieve it. It's not as much how you can, but why you can, because once you understand the why, the rest of it is instinctive.
Okay. And I remember you were telling me a little bit about someone that had won the award for the best job in the world, and accrediting that to your book. You want to just share that story a bit?
So in 2008 there was a contest by the Great Barrier Reef Tourism Department in Australia, and this application was for the best job in the world, and what that was is if you apply for this job and get it, you would be placed on one of their paradise islands in the reef, and you would blog about all the tourism attractions that there were, snorkeling, parasailing, whatever, and you would talk about it on a vlog for a 6-figure income.
Okay.
So you live on this paradise island and
Living
blog
the
about
dream.
your dream, right?
Right.
And so there were 34,000 applicants around the world applying for this job, and the man who won it, his name was Ben Southall. He was from Australia. No, he was from England, sorry.
Okay.
He was from England. And when he was interviewed on Canadian National News about his win, he said, I read this book, The Jackrabbit Factor, and I thought, this girl has something here. And that these are the things that he did, the principles, the way of thinking that he applied himself to that got him that job.
That's super cool.
And so, it's powerful for entrepreneurs, but it's also powerful for the person who just wants to get the best job.
Right,
It doesn't have to be for entrepreneurship, but it certainly lends to that.
That's really cool. So I understand recently you've made the switch from selling your book to actually offering it for free online. What was your motivation behind that, and what kind of results have you seen because of it?
Like I said, my passion became helping people understand this. And I just wanted to take away anyone's excuse from getting the information that would change their life. And the letters that we get weekly are just so motivating. There's nothing else I've done in my life that has held my attention as long as this has. This is 18 years that I've been doing this now, and I'm more excited about it today than I was yesterday and the day before. But we switched it to making it, well, first of all, it's kind of funny. You didn't ask me this before, but I'm going to tell you something. I was looking for a publisher, and I wanted the perfect publisher.
Okay.
I had set my goal, I'd made my list of what I wanted in a publisher to make this a really great relationship, and I kept getting rejected. And I knew the book was powerful. I'd been selling it as an ebook already for 2 years, and people were waiting for the paperback. And I'm like, I've already got a market for this.
Right.
And couldn't find one. Finally, I found a publisher that listed exactly what they were looking for, and it described my book to the T. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I found them. Well, I sent it to them, and I didn't just get rejected, but I got like a Xerox copy of a rejection letter, standard, It wasn't even personalized, and I thought, they didn't even crack my book. I was so mad. I'm like, fine, I'll just do it myself. And so a friend of mine had self-published, and she showed me what to do. And that turned out to be the greatest rejection I have ever had, because without that rejection I wouldn't have gone and just given up and done it myself. But because I did it myself, I own the rights and I can give it away for free. Cool. If I had sold it to a publisher, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Really cool.
And so once we had developed some back-end trainings where we can help people understand it at a deeper level, or we can hold their hand in seeing, first let's pick a goal and we'll walk you through this on one goal, so you can see a direct connection between your thoughts and your what shows up. And once those were in place, we're like, there is no reason why we don't just want this book to get out there into as many hands as possible. And so at jackrabbitfactor.com, you can go download the whole thing for free. And then there's a series of tips that comes afterwards that helps explain pieces of the book that aren't in the book. And then at the end of that, we offer our online training for those who want more help. And that was doing well enough that it made sense to just let the book be for free.
That's
and
super
like
cool.
I mentioned offline, we since then created a program called The Profitable Author, where we teach people how we made over $1 million giving our book away for free. And I just love the opportunities that are available to anyone in whatever they love doing, as they understand the principles of success and start to employ them in what they're already doing.
I love that. So what I think is really cool is that you went from, I can imagine a lot of people would be like, no way, I'm not giving my book away for free, I'm going to lose money, this isn't going to be good for business. I love how by doing that, you were able to accomplish your goal of helping people and make more money while doing that ultimately.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I would love to get one piece of advice from you to maybe potential authors or students that want to start their own business, they want to get into their own thing. What's one piece of advice you could give them to help them reach their full potential?
Oh man, that's a huge question. That is a huge question. But I'll tell you this. The thing that begins this whole process in motion, the catalyst for achieving whatever change you want to affect in your life, is to see it done on the screen of your mind. See it done. And I tell you, I heard that for 7 years, and I kept responding to that with, yeah, got that, but what do I do? Okay, dream big, got that, but what do I do? How do I speak to the prospect? How do I find the right partner? How do I, and I'm in the technicalities of it, and they're saying, just picture what you want. And there was the day that I finally did what they said. It's funny. I was so frustrated and so much in despair over where we were at. This little voice in my head is saying, picture what you want. And it just made me mad. I'm like, stop it. I'm sick of hearing that. I'm sick of paying money to hear people tell me that.
Right.
So I was feeling a little snarky that day, and I said, fine, I will. And I went to my room. I don't know if I shut the door, but I went to my room. I got in bed, and I just decided to close my eyes and pretend like I had the life I wanted, because I was sick of life the way it was. And I'm thinking, I'm spiting them. Fine, I'm not going to do anything today. I'm just going to go pretend like I have what I want, And here in the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh, Leslie, has it come to this?
Right.
You are so pathetic. Are you really going to escape? You're just going to escape now, And so what I imagined was, at the time we were in this two bedroom apartment that had cigarette smoke coming in the holes from the outlets in the wall, and we had our babies there, and it just was a depressing place. And I went to bed. My kids were just kind of taking care of themselves, and I just, what would it feel like to be in a home of my own? I have no idea. What would that feel like? And I found out how hard it was to think and create a new image. That is the hardest work you'll ever do, but this is the beginning. And so I imagined, I imagined myself coming home to a home of my own and opening the door from getting groceries, and my kids are running up from behind me, and I'm just trying to live it in my head so that I can answer the question, how will it feel when that's happened? How would that feel? I don't know. Well, you can't just say it'd feel great, because that doesn't answer. The answer to that question is a feeling. And the only way to generate that feeling is to imagine it to the point that your subconscious thinks it's happening, and it releases those endorphins. Because their subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between an experience that is real and one that is imagined. So you imagine it until it thinks it's real, and then you feel it. When you can answer that question, how will that feel when that degree is earned, when that job is won, when that home is built, when that family is yours, whatever it is you're dreaming of, and you can feel it before it's happened, that starts things in motion. And when I did that, I probably spent 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. I'm like, all right, now I gotta go back to life, and I just, well, that was cool, kind of felt it for a split second. Went back to life. A year later, we were living what I had imagined.
Wow.
But it wasn't for 2 more years that I realized what I had done. It was 2 years after that that I learned those principles that showed me what I did made a difference. It started, this unseen help that gets orchestrated, resources start lining up. And as we believe and hope and have this optimism, those things are gathering and organizing so that when you're at that juncture, the thing you need will be there, the mentor you need will be there, the resources you need will be there. But it's when we think, oh, I don't see anything happening, well, this isn't going to work, then it starts to dissipate.
Right.
And so it's just holding on to that, just knowing that stuff's happening even when you're not the one making it happen.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your advice.
Yeah,
I know it's
you're
going to help a
welcome.
ton of people. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and it was great to have you.
Thank you so much.